Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are reacting to episode 29 of Monster. Last episode, Richard had it confirmed that there is a connection between all his previous investigations and this Johann figure who is now the secretary to Schuvold, which is definitely going to end well. Nothing malicious or bad could ever happen with that connection. Not at all. Then we also saw that the doctor that Richard has been seeing actually has a connection to interacted with earlier on. I think his name, was it Gillen? I think it was Gillen, something along those lines. It begins with a G. We also have had Richard feeling like somebody is about to kill him. He was very close to having died like a couple of times now. So yeah, it's ramping up. I'm very nervous for Schuvold, for Carl, who are now sort of ingratiated with Johann because he's inserted themselves in their like fatherly son dynamic and they feel like they owe him something, like they're so grateful. It's stressful. It's stressful. I'm also just going to preface, if my analytical abilities seem lackluster lately, it's too warm. My brain is melting. It is mush. So if I catch things, I catch things. If I don't, I don't. It is what it is. It's too warm to really try and make my brain analyze. And I also have to remember, this is not a video essay. This is a first time react. I'm not here to analyze things to death. I don't have the time for that. I'm here to react to it and to discuss it insofar as I can discuss it. So we're just gonna be a bit more laid back, a little bit more chill with our reacts, I think. A lot less pressure on myself. But without further ado, we're gonna jump into episode 29.
ファーファーファーファーファーなんだよずるいぞキック受けたら倒れろよファーファーファー世界征服を企む悪の帝国はそう簡単にはやられないのだテレビじゃ番組の終わりにはやられるって決まってるんだぞファーファーファーファーファー
Oh Lord, Johann.
こいつちっとも倒れないんだよファーファーファー
でも世界を征服したらその後が大変だぞどんな世界を作るつもりなんだい
そんなの知らないよめちゃめちゃになってそれでおしまいさ
Pure chaos.
レインボーレンジャーなんかやめて僕も悪の組織に入る
A rainbow ranger? Like a power ranger? What world are you trying to build, Johann? I think he could relate, just burning it all down just to see the chaos. Oh. You're playing a dangerous game being within looking distance of Johann. Oh, he's gonna die, man. He is.
そうそう、この頃だよ。夜中に医者に駆け込んだっけ。
あの子のアルバム持って歩いてるの？
He really wants to see her.
育ち盛りだから、ちょっと見ない間に顔も変わったかな。でもね、僕には自信があるよ。ローゼマリーがどんなに大きくなっても、
Oh, stop. That's my worry. He's so eager at the idea of seeing her. But it's never gonna happen. I think it's just gonna be tragic.
僕が撃ち殺した時の新聞の切り抜きや報告書の写しだ。うまく説明してくれ。なんて言う気はない。
He wants her to know the
人を
truth.
やったのは事実だ。自己弁護するわけじゃない。ただ、あの子には本当のことを知ってほしいんだ。
Laying himself bare so she can make the decision as to their relationship going forward. That's admirable and brave to do that. She sees the change and the difference in him too.
もう一度あの子に聞いてみる？お父さんに会う気があるかどうか。
そうか。
Yeah.
電話待ってるよ。毎晩9時にはうちに帰ってるから。
リヒャルト、あなたずいぶん戻ったわ。あの若々しい刑事になりたての頃みたいな。
He's got his spark back.
私たちが知り合った頃みたいな目に。
I really hope he gets to see his daughter.
今の保険で十分ですよ。これ以上保険料払う余裕もないし。
4年前引っ越してきた時に加入したばかりなんですよ。
4年前ですか。以前はどちらに？
マンハイムの近くのブルンタールです。
ブルンタールですか。
So were these the new parents of Johan?
こちらに来るまでずっと。
ところで奥さん、お子さんは
Because he's going by Liebe. But then
息子は
again,
ミュンヘンの大学
he was going
に
by Liebe when he was a kid too.
それなら今、若い方にぴったりの保険があります。ぜひお話だけでも。
So has he just found another Liebe family to fall into?
ヨハンです。お茶でもいかが？
ああ、もうそんな。お構いなく。
Am I
ミュンヘンの大学
misremembering?
に行ってからはたまに電話してくる程度でね。
Like, I am 100% sure that when they knew him as a kid, he was Johann Lieber. No, they were. I literally had to go back to my episode 1 of Monster there on YouTube, like, looking through. They were adopted by the Lieberts. The Lieberts then were killed by Johann because it was Johann and Anna Lieber, but then he's obviously going by Johann Lieber again. And I was like, wait, so he's just taken the surname of Lieber once more. No, this is another family with the name of Lieber. Is it just a coincidence that they also have a son called Johann Lieber? Or has he just ingratiated himself with another family who have Lieber as the surname? And that definitely is intentional if it's the case, but what is he playing at? I thought I was losing my mind for a second.
男の子はそんなもんですよ。
つまらんもんですな。
Maybe it's a coincidence because they have pictures of a baby, like a son as a baby, and that can't be Johann because Johann's a twin,
行ってきました、ライヒワイン先生。
not them.
ヨハンの実家へ。それが全く何の変哲もないごく普通の家庭でした。
でどう思うリヒャルト？
まあ、刑事時代の考え
Well, they
方
don't know that he's a twin, but I
何の
don't
変
think
哲もな
that's
い
his
ことほど
family
怪しいものはないってとこですか。
or that like he's even
と
associated
にか
with
く
them.
もう少しヨハンの周辺を洗ってみます。
That's where I've gone wrong. Sorry. I'm thinking like too much into the Liebe connection. I forget because these are new characters. Richard doesn't know that Johann is a twin because Temma only gave limited information to the criminal psychologist, and that was about Johann. There was no mention of Anna. So, of course, they're not going to know that he's a twin. So, when they go to visit the Liebers, they're going on the basis of tracing a family that have a son called Johann, who also has the last name Liebert, and they're automatically presuming that that is Johann's family, especially because, you know, they also have a son in Munich. But Munich is a big university, and Johann is not exactly an unusual name in this show. So, I mean, it's not like it stands out as something indistinguishable, as something uncommon, you know? Like, it's a pretty standard name. So it could just be coincidence that they also have a son called Johann who goes to university in Munich because it's a good university. And Richard has the wrong end of the stick thinking that these are Johann's parents because he doesn't know all this information. Surely we're going to have to get Temma again soon though, because Temma and Dieter were on the way to Munich. So surely Temma is going to have to show his face soon. I miss Temma. I'm enjoying the new characters and the new direction and learning more about Johann because he's been this mysterious figure for like the majority of what we've seen so far. But I do miss Temma.
何かがあるはずだ。
This show just makes you second guess yourself all the time.
評価も全くもって成績優秀、貧困法制。
It's not the same Johann though. Or maybe it is. Maybe I'm just overthinking it.
でもね、僕には自信があるよ。ローゼマリーがどんなに大きくなっても、あの子だってすぐにわかる。
He doesn't recognize Johann in the baby. Yeah, it's not the same child.
あの赤ん坊の顔が成長してヨハンの顔になるとは思えない。
はい、こちらが出生証明書です。
ああ、どうも。
Did he take on Johann Liebert's identity
1976年2月9日生まれ。
and is like
確かに
misleading his
この場所で生ま
parents,
れた。
or what is actually going on?
何の変哲もない。
ペレツさん、何度言ったらわかるんですか？この役場は禁煙です。
そう固いこと言わないで灰皿くれよ。
Give me an
4
ashtray.
年前にここが火事になったでしょ。書類が全部焼けて大変なことになったでしょ。
その時に書類を作り直したんですか？
Oh,
個人申請で作り直したんですけど、こんな小さな町ですから、それでも十分元通りになりましたが。
so it could have been forged. Potentially. What if this is a similar situation to the Fortness, where Anna was taken in, but Anna didn't know that they weren't actually her parents? She suspected that something wasn't lining up. But in her mind, they were always her mom and dad, and they didn't want to tell her that she was adopted because they'd lost the baby girl. So they kind of filled in the gaps and were like, yeah, no, this is you. But it wasn't her as a baby because, you know, she wasn't biologically their child. So what if it's a similar scenario, but instead of Johan not knowing that they're not actually his parents in the same way that Anna didn't know the Fortners weren't her parents, Johan's in on it as well. That like he's let them adopt him in order to replace a child that they've lost. And then because this information was filled out by the individuals in question, Johan could know this information because he may have had access to it. Because he has access to like a whole bunch of information that we still don't know how he has access to it. He's very crafty and charismatic. He likely can make friends in high places where he can like gather this intel and information. So it could be that he's either accessed this information or he's forged the information to line up with himself in order to consolidate his actual identity. Because I'm just throwing out a bunch of theories in the hope that one of them is right. I actually have no clue where this is going.
よく来てくれたね、ドクター。
It is Gillen!
お久しぶりです。ライヒワイン先生。
ドクター・テンマは君のところに現れてヨハンという男を探していると。
彼の話には何の根拠もありませんでした。ただもしこの人物が私が研究していたあの連続殺人犯ペーター・ユルゲンスをそそのかした友人であったとしたら、一連の事件すべてに突破口が見出せます。
頼むよ、ドクター・ゲイレン。
はい、大至急ユルゲンスの面会の許可を取ります。彼にこの写真を見せて、その反応次第ではドクター・テンマの無実が
Why do I feel like
証明できる
something might happen to him where like he doesn't get the opportunity? He's gonna find the grave of Johann Liebert and be like, wait, hold the front door. Yeah, Johann Liebert. Oh, he only lived for 2 years.
死んでた。
They really just want to believe
ブルン
that
タ
their
ール
son
で
is
生まれた
alive.
本物のヨハン・リーベルトは2歳の時に。
つまり、リーベルト夫妻は死んだ息子の身代わりを役場の記録が消失したのに乗じてさも生きているように
Okay,
申請
yeah.
し直したということか。
おそらく。
それじゃあ、
That's so
今
tragic.
存在するヨハン・リーベルトという人物は一体誰なんだ。とにかくだ。さっき話したようにヨハンの写真をドクター・ギレンに渡した。そこから答えが出ることを期待しようじゃないか。
I have a bad feeling. A sinking feeling.
なんだい、一日中走り回ってまだ仕事かね。
いえ、電話がかかってくるかもしれないんです。もしかしたら娘と会えるかもしれないんです。大切なのは前に進むことでしょ。
Things are going too
君は
well
完
for
全に立ち直
him.
った。
Like, you've made a full recovery. Everything's going well with his ex-wife. He might get to see his daughter again.
はい、もしもし。
お父さん、私。
Oh,
ローゼマリー。ああ、元気だ。ああ、会えるとも。いつでも会えるよ。
oh no.
リヒャルトさん、ヨハンです。
この青年なんだがね、ユルゲンス。見覚えないかい？
He's gonna die. Johan's gonna have him
どこか
killed.
で会ったことないかな？
知らないな。
You don't know him?
君の友人、ヨハンは君に手紙をくれるだけで面識はなかったと言っていたね。だけど、ヨハンは君のことをよく知っていた。
Oh, he's not saying anything.
貸してくれないか。
悪いが君に物を渡すのは禁じられているんだ。
ボールペンを。
Don't give him a pen. You're not allowed to. Don't give him a pen.
公園だ。
え？
公園だ。
What?
人を殺した翌日。もうやめよう。もうこれっきりにしよう。そう思いながら公園に行った。子供をいっぱい連れていた。
ちょっと待ってくれ。テープを回すの忘れていた。もう一度最初から。
君もおいでよ。君もおいでよ。君もおいでよ。君もおいでよ。君もおいでよ。君も。
Oh, shit! This is why you don't give them a pen.
何の用だ？
シューバルトさんのところでお会いしましたね。ヨハン・リーベルトです。何度もお電話したんですが、いらっしゃらなかったので。
Because he's busy.
伺いました。
はい。いや、ドクター・ギーレンか。どうだったね。ユルゲンスに写真を見せたけ。
He killed himself. That's how it went.
はい。病院で今しがた。今、警察の事情聴取で私も動けません。私が不注意にもボールペンを渡してしまったがために。
Well, you weren't supposed
重要
to.
な証人がこんなことに。ただ、ライヒワイン先生、彼の自殺は明らかにヨハンの写真に反応したためです。
Yeah, it was weird.
わかった。すぐリヒャルトに連絡する。リヒャルト。
大学のレポート。
Okay.
1989年に国
Oh, I thought he was dead.
子供の権利条約の研究をしていまして。お酒はいかがですか？リヒャル
Nope.
トさん。
いや、私は結構。
お酒やめられたんですね。
Don't give him any information. Don't confirm anything to
お
him.
酒に酔った勢いで例の少年を処刑したんですからね。違いますか？
ああ、酒の上とはいえ、許されないことをしてしまったよ。
あなたが撃ち殺した少年、シュテファン・ヨース、17歳。彼はどんな罪を犯したんですか？
少年か。あんな悪魔のような犯罪を17歳の少年が犯した。レイプ殺人9件、殺人未遂2件。
それで処刑した。
処刑じゃない。
あ、失礼。ところで、子供の権利条約40条では、法律に基づき有罪が立証されるまでは無罪と推定される。とあるのはご存知ですよね。
I thought that goes for everyone.
私は少年館にいたこともある。
なるほど。では37条。18歳未満の者が犯した犯罪に対して、死刑及び釈放の可能性がない終
See,
身刑を課してはならない。という。
that's always a difficult one.
条約のほとんどはこの国では成人も子供も関係なく当然認められた基本的な人権だ。私が彼を撃ったのは処刑なんかじゃない。酒によっての過ちだ。私は取り返しのつかないことをしてしまったと思ってる。社会的な制裁もこうして受けて。
まあまあ、ちょっと待ってください。僕は大学のレポートを書くためにあなたにお会いしたかったんです。気分を損ねられたのなら謝ります。気分転換に少し歩きませんか？
Not if it involves going to the park.
夜風がまだまだ冷えますからね。
ああ、ドクター・ギーレン。リヒャルトはまだ捕まらんのだ。娘と会えるかもしれないと言っていたが。
Oh, so he might have got to meet her, but
とは思えんし。
that's definitely
行動は
what's
慎重にと
not happening.
その
That didn't make any sense, but that's fine.
今、私はそちらに向かっています。
That's definitely not what's happening. No, it did make sense.
確か幼い頃は東ベルリンの施設にいたとか。
もっと知る必要がありますね。それが彼を語る上でも重要なポイントなんです。彼のいた施設。
Were they in the same orphanage? Were they?
彼は実にいい子でした。
Maybe?
でもあの施設で彼がどんなひどい目に遭う
Because he seems to know him on a
そこで
personal
彼の
level.
精神がどんな風に切り刻まれていったか。子供の権利条約第6条、生命への権利、生存発達の確保。第8条、アイデンティティの保全。第19条、虐待からの保護。いや、そんなものをあげるのも虚しい悪夢のような場所だったんですよ。あの511キンダーハイム。
He was. Oh, shoot.
娘さんには会えそうですか？
なんでなぜ知ってるんだ？
さっきお宅で電話されてたのは娘さんで
Richard,
すか？
you should not be alone with
会われるん
him.
ですか？
You're braver than I
明
am.
日あたり。
何なんだお前の目的は？
Richard, why are you still following
大学
him?
のレポートを書くことです。
そうじゃない。お前が今シューバルトのところにいる目的だ。お前は
Richard's gonna die.
お前は
Richard's gonna die.
誰なんだ？
He's gonna push him. Oh my god, no, he's bringing him to the roof. He took the whiskey. He's gonna make it look like he's killed himself. That he got drunk and threw himself off the top. That's why he's bringing the whiskey. He's saying, oh, it's for the cold because it gets chilly at night. No, he knows that he's had issues before with drink in the past. He needs a valid reason for why he would jump. It's because he relapsed, that he let down his ex-wife and his daughter before he could reunite with her. Oh, shit. I knew he was gonna probably die, but that's just so fucking cold.
あなたはお酒によって少年を撃ったと言いましたね。
その前に私の質問に答えろ。
あの日、確かにあなたは少年を殺した後、バーで飲んでいる姿を目撃されている。僕の調べたところだと、少年を殺害する前にあなたが飲んでいる姿を見かけた人が一人もいないんですよ。
Oh, so he wasn't.
少年を撃った時、
You were
飲
sober.
んでいなかったんじゃないですか？彼を処刑しようと思って冷静に引き金を引いた。違いますか？
違う。
なぜ忘れようとするんですか？それとも嘘をついているんですか？その嘘は他人に対してですか？それとも自分に対してですか？あの少年の罪は確定していましたか？あなたに彼を処刑する権利はありますか？嘘をつけば
You see what I mean? This is how he plays with people. He literally warps and twists their minds.
なんて重い罪なんだ。そんな重い罪を犯した人間が
He's a master manipulator.
娘さんに会うんですか？
Do not listen to him. No, don't. Don't.
そうです。飲みませんか？
No, don't.
ギレン、ドクター・ギレンか？
警察です。あなたの患者のリヒャルト・ブラウンが死にました。
は？
Johan, when I get my fucking hands on you, Johan, I knew it. I knew the moment we heard his daughter's voice and she said that she wanted to see him, that was it. Lights out for him. Because it happens routinely in the show where, like, a chance of reuniting with someone that they love. You know, we had the reporter with Temma who was going to try and reconcile with his wife. He died because of Johan. We had the ex-police officer that was blackmailed by Johan to kill the Fortners, but was then saving Anna when she was going to be killed by... I've forgotten his name, but the one that's, like, working with, like, the criminal underworld, the syndicate, that then shot Eva in the knee. And then we haven't seen him since. He kind of disappeared. So he's another figure we need to look out for. But he died just as he was beginning to bond with his stepson. And he was calling him dad. And they were looking forward to actually being able to build that family unit. And then now Richard. after literally being told this whole episode, look how far you've come, you've really recovered, you've made a full recovery, only for Johan to fucking twist his mind, get his claws in, and break him psychologically. Whether Richard drank or not, I personally, and this is just my opinion, I don't think Richard drank. I think Richard would fight back. I think Johan has pushed him and he's died, and the whiskey's made it look like he's drunk, but this is also just part of Johan's way of silencing someone that's like on the path to uncovering the truth regarding his crimes, you know? So I don't think he did. I think it's kind of baiting us into believing that maybe Richard couldn't deal with the reality of facing what he done, especially sober, that he wasn't actually drunk when he shot the young serial killer, that he did it with a clear mind and past judgment, that even if evidence was pointing to him, he hadn't been convicted, but he still passed the judgment on his actions, which is why Johan was saying to him in the bar, because he's alluding prior to the reveal that he knows that he was sober when he shot the 17-year-old, and any child under the age of 18 has to be presumed innocent before. Did he say before being sent to a trial? I just honestly thought that was in relation to anyone. Everyone is to be presumed innocent unless found guilty by a court of law, right? Yeah, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty according to law. I thought that stood for everyone, but maybe at the time it was more in effect for children, and that children shouldn't serve a life sentence or face execution for their crimes if committed under the age of 18, but because he was 17 and he was killed by Richard, Richard is passing an execution and passing judgment on his responsibility, saying that he's guilty and deserves death, which is in defiance of the law and justice as a whole. And that's what Johan was alluding to. And then I was a bit like, why is he going on about this? I was like, what's the connection? It's connected to the fact that he was sober when he killed the 17-year-old, which is someone that Johan personally knew. And we kind of already grasped that Johan was manipulating him as he did with, is it Yonkers? The one that stabbed the pen through his ear. Ugh, oh, it's disgusting. After going on about the park, he said he was in the park, he was surrounded by kids in the park. You should come too, you should come too, you should come too. So it was like the memory and the sight of Johan alone psychologically broke him. So I think what it's trying to illustrate is that Richard may have been psychologically broken by the fact that Johan is confronting him with the truth that no one else seems to know, bar him and Johan, that he was sober. And therefore, how can you say you're fully recovered when you're running from the truth of what you've done? Especially when he said to his ex-wife that he wanted their daughter to know the truth, but it's not the full truth, it's not the complete truth. So that may have then led to him having a break, which led to him drinking and him possibly either being pushed by Johan whilst intoxicated or falling off himself. But the other side of that is he may not have actually done it. It may have been Johan that pushed him, and it's just kind of baiting us into thinking that maybe Richard was psychologically broken. I think the show is very clever, and I wouldn't be angry either way. I would be sad if that is how it happened, that he did end up drinking and jumping. But at the same time, Richard is such a strong figure in his conviction and his motivation to track down Johan and stop him at any cost. He's got his spark back. He's making great strides into rebuilding his relationship with his daughter. If someone like him, who has been receiving therapy and help and guidance, can be psychologically broken by Johan in the space of a few minutes, it's illustrating the level of threat that Johan is. Just how dangerous Johan is when he comes into contact with people, that he knows what vulnerabilities they're hiding and he can twist it to his advantage. It doesn't matter how strong of a person you are, everyone has a vulnerability. All humans have a weakness, and Johan is just very adept at finding that weakness of sowing chaos and destruction. We still don't know why he's sowing chaos and destruction, whether it's just to watch the world burn because he's similar to that small child at the beginning when the young child was saying, I don't care to build the world, I only care to destroy it. He's not thinking of the future. And Johan kind of smiled and didn't correct him. So I feel like that could be alluding to Johan, that he doesn't have any future goal in mind of rebuilding the world. There's no noble purpose for why he does what he does. There's no justifying it. It's solely because he enjoys it. He finds pleasure in it. I think it's just a reiteration of how chaotic Johan is. But that's so sad. I'm so sad that Richard's gone because he was going to reunite with his daughter, but there's no such thing as a fucking happy ending. I think the doctor is going to realize that something's off, that it doesn't sound like Richard, especially because he was trying to get hold of him and he was getting a bit worried because he wasn't answering. So I think he might start to sort of investigate a little bit further, maybe pass even more information on to Gillen, and then maybe he'll come into contact with Temma at some point, because again, Temma was on his way to Munich. But that whole interaction between Yonkers and Gillen was so weird. He drew dark hair, so obviously the Johan he saw had darker hair than what the picture does, but at the same time was still surrounded by kids and was still able to get Yonkers on side to become a friend. Let's meet at the park. That's so fucking weird. What happened at the park that was so severe that it's caused Yonkers to want to kill himself? There was obviously like a psychological break in that moment where he just desperately wanted to get rid of whatever images were in his brain, that he took that drastic action. At least that's what I think. Again, these are just my opinions. I'm not stating them as facts. Media is open to interpretation, and until the show corrects me, that's just where my brain is heading. And then the biggest tragedy is the two parents who lost their son when he was 2 years old and took advantage of the town hall burning down to bring their son back to life. But what's tragic is that in the process of resurrecting their son through someone that isn't their son and isn't biologically connected to them, to heal their trauma, because clearly that loss is so profoundly impacting that they would go to this extreme, they've neglected their actual son's grave because it was covered in moss and debris, and there was no like flowers, nothing adorning it to show that this was a beloved child. They're almost in denial that their child actually died because they were able to have a new son, Johan, who took his place and went to university, and he's such a good boy. And yet the son that they lost, instead of mourning him, instead of grieving for this child, this precious life that never got to be, they've neglected his grave. And that's just so sad to me. It was really, really emotional just seeing this little grave, knowing that he died so young, and his parents are so traumatized by his death that they're just not willing to accept it. And going to the grave would be recognition that the life they're living is a lie, that Johan in Munich is not their biological son. So in order to keep up the lie, in order to fool themselves, they have to just completely push it to the back of their brains. So they don't even go to the grave. And I just think that's so tragic. But also, again, very telling that Johan's able to take advantage of a grieving family for his own benefit, because he now has an alibi. He has parents. He has documentation that is saying, you know, he was born in this year. He went to this school. He got good grades. You know, he has like documentation to validate his identity. So if anyone questions it, he can just like go speak to my parents. He's very crafty and conniving. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!